and conversation for this morning. Joining us in studio, we have Deborah Domingo, who is the principal at Mod High School, and Don Waters, who is also the principal at Excelsior High School. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
And so our conversation this morning is centered around the Belize Education Uplifting Pilot Project. First of all, congratulations on your schools being the pilot schools for that project. What was, I guess anybody could answer this question, your reaction when government said, okay, this is what we're going to implement in your school for the coming semester?
Well, absolute delight. Because, you know, there was an assessment done of the 4 government-owned schools in Belize City, particularly Southside Belize City. And there were things that we had in common, challenges that we had in common. We served the same profile of students, hence the commonality there. And so out of that assessment came the recommendations, and it's from the recommendations that we have this awesome project. Actually, we should call it a program. As you know, projects have a start and an end.
Yes.
But it is absolutely exciting because our students will get to benefit in ways that previously they were not even imagining. So, you know, our appearance this morning is really to sensitize the wider public about what the program is about and what benefits students will have when they enroll at Maud Williams High School or at Excelsior High School or Sadie Vernon Technical and Gwynedd-Zaraga High.
Okay. So let's get into that itself. What is the project and who stand to benefit from this particular initiative?
I believe that all students who live on the south side of the city tend to benefit from it because our clientele normally come from the surrounding geographic areas, and so they tend to benefit with respect to free tuition, right? That is a part of the policy. Uniform, they plan to be receiving a minimum of 3 uniforms, and we can give them more as a need-by-need basis. Ms. Domingo touched earlier on the feeding program. And so they have the benefit of getting breakfast or lunch, and administrators will decide which is more beneficial to them. I know in my particular school, breakfast is more beneficial to us because it has helped us with attendance and lateness to school because they want to access the meal. Textbooks, each child will be receiving a computer to help with completing assignments, to help with research. So there are many benefits to it to be enrolled in one of these 4 schools on the south side.
So when it comes to the benefits and the way the project is rolling out, are all of these entities going to come all together all at once for each student, or is it going to come in phases?
From what we've been informed, it will come just about all at once. The only thing that's lagging, I think, a bit is the assistance with books and book bags, really, and shoes. I think they're still working out the details for that.
So you're essentially getting a full package, so to speak. So if I have a child, I'm living on the south side of Belize City for the purpose of this pilot project. So I have a child, I'm living on Penn Road, and perhaps my child has chosen Excelsior High School as the secondary school of choice for him. You're telling me essentially that he can get his tuition covered, he can get his uniforms, his full attire down to the shoes, he can also get his books. And if I'm doing bad as a parent in terms of financially, that he could also qualify for a meal at the high school.
In fact, every student should get a meal. What we expect to receive from the ministry should be enough to provide either breakfast or lunch for every student enrolled. And I think it's it's a wonderful boost for families that may be struggling. You know, for a number of families, the private cost of education is prohibitive. And school administrators will tell you that there were fees unpaid for years. And so the government now assuming the fees that, you know, parents would normally pay is a boost not just for the families but the school. As without fees being collected, you know, our institutions end up resource strapped, and there is not much to do the infrastructural maintenance and upliftment that's necessary.
When it comes to the respective schools, prior to the program being established, how was the enrollment like? Are you seeing a change in that now that your schools are the pilot for this program?
Well, one of the reasons why we are here today is to ensure that the good news gets out. It is certainly our expectation that with all of this package being made available for our children living outside Belize City and even in the villages, as we do get a number of students from Ladyville, Hattieville, 8 Mile community, that you will have greater subscription to the institutions. I think we've all reported that we've had an increase in the intake, but it needs to be more. And so my appeal this morning is for parents, if you have not found a place for your child, then you have Maud Williams, you have Excelsior, Gwenlis and Sadie Vernon to select from, where they are assured of the assistance. You have no issues with paying fees. You will have the opportunity to get uniforms, what would come out of pocket sometimes $5, $10 every day for lunch. That's taken care of. It's
automatic.
Wonderful.
Once they enroll, it's automatic.
It's automatic.
They also get school supplies as well, stationaries, transportation for those students who may have difficulty coming to school because they need to cross certain areas. The program also have parenting program for parents who may need the skills required, you know, to be more effective as parents. So it's a whole package students and parents will be receiving once they send their child to these 4 schools.
This is essentially what it sets out to be, a pilot project. So it's essentially government testing to see if this initiative is feasible and it can work. Depending on perhaps an assessment at the end of this particular initiative, they would be able to say, let's roll it out to another area of the country, or let's take it all the way. What are the measures here in terms of perhaps the Ministry of Education looking at the success rate in terms of either enrollment, in terms of being able to turn things around for some families who are struggling financially to be able to support the cost of education?
So I think the project soon to be program should not be considered outside of the other efforts. You had guests before us and they were talking about their community work, because the problems the challenges that we face are linked in essence to poverty and issues in the community. I mean, among other things, right? But those are the 2 main ones. And so this, I think, needs to be looked at in the context of the other efforts being made at community building and upliftment. Our students come from the very areas where, you know, the work is being done. And so we need to consider that. Obviously, we want to see improvement in schools enrollment. That the retention or repetition rate is lowered, that attendance, daily attendance would be improved, and the output, better school facilities. There's an aspect of the project that involves boosting the infrastructure of schools, internet, I think the ministry launched quite recently the Connect Ed program, which should provide Wi-Fi access in every classroom, on a school compound.
How are the teachers preparing now? That I would imagine, and this is just coming from that basis of every teacher or even the principal would issue that helping hand to that student that would need it more or less. How are they preparing now that there's a little bit more time to help in their lesson plan and so forth?
I believe that for now, the ministry is providing training.
Yes.
Right, so currently our teachers are in training as we speak. I know Ms. Domingo did her training last week, and we have to continue to work with our teachers as the program is rolled out and continue to provide training for them so that it is easy for them to deliver the curriculum, right?
I have to say, I'm very excited about this just because I think that for the longest time we talked about free education for some of our, if not all of our students. When it comes to the monitoring of how this program is going, have you all discussed that with the ministry?
Well, there is a group that involves representatives from the Ministry of Education and the school leadership. It is certainly my hope that it will be expanded a little bit so that we are on track. I know that the principals of the 4 schools, we have decided that we were going to ensure that we provide support for each other as we're, going through this, because, well, we're piloting and it's good to be able to support. And that's the education enterprise. It's always a joint one. It's never any entity or any person operating in a silo.
I think this works wonderfully well with the recent initiative to ensure that kids remain in school up until the age of 16 at minimum, right? I think this ties in perfectly with that, because if they were experiencing certain challenges that kind of kept them away from the classroom, now with everything literally being provided for them and having that minimum mandatory age, then there shouldn't be a reason why you'll see kids now on the street outside of school.
And it will relate to safer societies, because if we can look at the statistics, we see that it's 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, that are committing some of these crimes or engaging in gang activities. So if we could get them in school, and give them an outlet, a positive outlet to develop qualities, skills, and a part of the project also is developing attitudes, the right attitude to be able to socialize, to be able to be effective in communicating, to be able to hold a job, so we see the program as multifaceted when it comes to benefits to our school and society at large.
So when it comes to the rolling out of the program itself, it's not start first farm and then continue, it's everybody. Once you didn't afford,
Everybody.
I mean, it sounds like a dream, right? And it sounds like it's going to be effective, hopefully, in terms of enrollment and keeping the kids in school. When it comes to the response of the parents, have you all been in discussion with people in the community about how beneficial this can be for them, especially when it comes to the parenting project?
Well, the parents were surveyed.
Okay.
In terms of the early assessment, and as well when we were trying to determine what their needs were. The initial information we received was that, okay, these things were in the pipeline, but we didn't understand what was the scope, how many students would benefit. So we started to do our needs surveying. Who are the students who will need help with uniform? Who are the students who will need help with different things? And, simply asking those questions build expectations. So they have been asking, so when will my child get my uniform? How will they deal with it? Do we get a ticket? Do we get a coupon? Will uniforms be at the school and you simply select sizes? So they have been expecting it. It's warmly welcome. It's a major assistance.
How do you deal with the logistical aspect of it though, because again, going back to the example that I was using earlier, my child, second former at Excelsior High School. So now we're looking at uniform. Where does he go to measure for his uniform? Where does he go to pick up his footwear? And oftentimes, books are a perennial problem, right? If you don't get there quick enough,
They're done.
books gone. So how do we address these specific logistical concerns?
Those are being sorted out by the Ministry of Education, and so what we are supposed to do is to provide them with the data, and they have given us different suppliers, and so students will go to these suppliers in order to get, they'll be receiving a ticket, and that ticket they will take to the suppliers in order to get the uniform, the textbooks, the footwear, belt, and so forth.
Okay. I think that it's a great initiative, and you said that you're here to promote enrollment. So, so can I ask then, what's the population like at your respective schools so far?
Well, we are at like 279.
279. How much you want to get to?
At least 300 in the first instance. So we're like 21 shy of our target, and hopefully next year we can, you know, expand even more.
I would have also wanted to see Gwen Nizaraga represented here today, simply because I think in covering previous stories on Gwen, they have had enrollment issues as well. And so this would have been a perfect and ideal opportunity for them to also be here to pitch the idea to their public to have a, you know, a greater enrollment, if I could say that, right? I think the initiative is wonderful. The idea that kids can now go to school without having to worry about where the meal will come from.
Where the tuition.
Well, my uniform shirt, or my pants, or my footwear, or what have you, my school bag. The onus now is simply on them to perform, right? That part of it, the government can't do for you.
Yeah.
And the parent.
Your parent can't do that for you.
We need the parent to enroll them,
Yes.
you know, and so be an active participant in
You
the
could
child's academic
facilitate
life.
this process. You could do everything that you can within your power to be able to make it easier for them. So all they have to do now is just perform, show up and perform.
Yeah.
And the schools also, we have to work on building our image. There are stigmas attached to, you know, some of our institutions. And so one of the mandates that we have is to ensure that the good news gets out, and that we implore the media to share good news sometimes, and not just the sensational stuff, no?
We'll take that in mind. It's the second time for the morning we're being reminded of positive coverage, so yes.
Okay, so that's a good thing, and there's a lot of good things happening at Maud Williams, at Excelsior, and the other schools. Yeah, but inevitably it may be linked to some other, you know,
Negative.
so that's one of the things we have to do.
So when does school start, and how can people register? Because
well, school starts on August 22nd, and we have some of the schools, they have online forms that you could fill out, and you could just stop by on any of our school offices and pick up our registration form, fill it out, and submit it, and you can be enrolled for the new school year. All of us have space available for students.
Yeah, it is as easy as that.
Yeah.
There you have it. Yeah, there you have it. Try your best to. I think we should keep a close eye on how this program is being rolled out. Just because I think that for the longest we always wondered what it would look like to see something completely free, education, tuition, uniform, book, everything. And I think that if it's successful there, it can be successful in others. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
All right. And with that, we are going to take our next break. And when we get back, we have our final conversation for wrap-up.